Uh, Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this webinar on L&D transformation from courses to skills and capabilities. I want to start this session with a question. Think how many conversations that you're having with your executive team and the leadership or the functional leaders who you support that revolve around courses and reporting about completion rates or how many hours of learning have taken place and so on. If that takes up a significant amount of discussion on an ongoing basis, then today's session is actually specifically designed for you, because we're going to talk about a fundamental shift. That is a shift from being a delivery system, a course delivery system, to something that's a performance engine that is aimed at building skills and capabilities. So let's get into it. Now look at these 6 words: reskilling, upskilling, cross-skilling, and so on. Every leader in this room is dealing with at least 3 of these simultaneously. And here's what the challenge is. The pressure about accomplishing these or handling these has never been higher, particularly with the advent of AI technology and many of the changes in the business environment because of that and other reasons. We are aware that the skills are decaying at a much faster pace. Newer skills and capabilities are emerging that need to be developed in the workforce. As per a report from McKinsey, 87% of executives are already facing skill gaps or expect to face them in the near future in the next 3 to 5 years. I can talk about myself. I am having to learn new things, build new capabilities to be able to take advantage of advancements in the nature of tools and technologies that are available to professionals like me. And I'm sure you all also are experiencing the same. So the question isn't whether there's a need to shift our focus towards skills and capabilities. But the question really is the L&D department ready to lead the challenge and take the challenge head on? Okay. Having said that, let's look at this chain of progression carefully. Learning is something that gives people knowledge and skills. Performance is the application of the knowledge and skills to achieve a certain objective. And the impact is the measurable outcome when the performance succeeds in the real life. Okay. Most LED functions actually operate heavily in the first box, that is, helping people and the workforce get some knowledge and acquire some skills. And they track metrics like completion and assessments that are taken right after the training or the learning gets completed are a measure of success. But knowledge is often not retained for long. And the needle, when it comes to performance, doesn't move. And the learning department hopes that actually that effort will result into better performance over time. So the shift we are talking about is actually expanding what L&D can influence and get done, is taking the responsibility of shifting the focus from just learning to driving performance and supporting the achievement of impact. So the ebook that we published some time ago actually provides significant information on the need, the methods, the framework, how to go about accomplishing this change, and so on. However, the objective of this webinar is to review the pillars of this strategy for making this shift and giving you a glimpse of what the ultimate solution would look like, a part of the solution that is a critical component. So that's what we're going to look at. Before we talk about the solution, we got to get aligned on what actually drives performance. And for that, I will refer to the will, skill, hill framework. Will means, does the person want to perform? Do they really understand why it matters? What's the value of good performance? The skill is, do they have the capability to perform successfully? And the hill is the environmental condition in which they are operating. Most L&D investment goes into development of the skill. And if the will is absent or hill, it's not aligned with the hill or the environment, then it doesn't translate into good performance. So any approach needs to address all three of them. And the reason why I refer to this framework is it equally applies to us who are in the L&D domain. Do we have the will to make this shift? Do we understand why is it of critical importance today? And we may have the skill, or actually we can take support, because we don't need to be required to do everything ourselves, but we could get access to skills and expertise from outside to make this shift happen. And of course, we have to be mindful of the hill. Every company, every organization is different. Their needs are different. And the context in which the shift needs to be made is also different. And so it needs a custom approach. And just the same approach may not work in every situation. So what is the shift that we're looking at? So on one side, we have the legacy model, which has been the primary or the model where the primary goal is to administer content. Content is developed in large volumes. Many courses are delivered. Many learners invest hours to complete. And we report on those. So success is measured by such vanity metrics by many organizations. Of course, there are many others who are also far more mature and measure impact or the influence on actual business operations. But there's still a lot to be done. It remains a burning requirement. And the leadership really is interested in knowing how this investment in courses is actually helping them. And the legacy model doesn't mean that L&D is not delivering any value. It just means that it has a very weak connection between what it is delivering and whether it is actually moving the needle, meaning is it influencing or driving actual performance. And therefore, the shift to a skills-based performance engine is what is being talked about as a growing need, where the primary goal should be engineering performance. Skills development must be integrated with business operations, serving what the business needs. Further, it also needs to extend beyond just knowledge delivery to practice and encouraging application. And most importantly, to speak the language that our stakeholders understand, the matrix must be tied to behavioral change, to performance, or connected or correlated with actual business KPIs. Having said that, this is not just any incremental movement or improvement. It is a completely different operating model. And therefore, this is not an easy shift to make, but it's possible. It cannot happen overnight, and it is expected to be implemented in stages. So these stages would typically look like this. At the bottom is the current state of the legacy model of operating, which moves to anchoring outcomes to skills. Stage 3 focuses on combining the skills to build individual capabilities. And then once the workforce individuals are capable and demonstrate actual competencies, the stage 4 is building team and organizational capabilities where they're able to successfully work together to meet the business objectives and drive business performance. Many L&D departments might be in stage 1 or 2, and that's completely normal. But the question is, how can these and any others move across to these higher stages, 2, 3, or 4? And we're going to discuss absolutely the solution that will get us there. But before we get that, let's acknowledge the reality in this room. When L&D leaders hear a skills intelligence engine to be developed, yeah, the common reaction is, that sounds great, but it's not something we can actually build. So I'd like to get a quick pulse from everyone here by launching a short poll. And I would like to know what your views are on this. I want to know what kind of barriers do people see in making this shift. So you should be able to see a poll question. Take some time to think and make a selection. Okay, we've got some responses. I'm waiting for some more. I would encourage everybody to participate. We get a better view. I'd wait for a few more seconds and then move forward. Okay, so it looks like a good number of participants have already provided their opinion, and I'm ready to share the poll result. So as you can see, it's pretty much even across these options. Some people believe that they don't have access to the right technology. There's a problem with the leadership buy-in, or there's a lack of internal skills and expertise. And quite often, it is so overwhelming that people think, I don't know where to start. It appears to be pretty complex, but it's not as complex as you will soon learn. So let's first look at the barriers. I have a summary on that. So we got to deal with this. This is the hill. This is the environment in which we got to operate. The first thing is expertise. So for example, many of us think, okay, I don't know how to build the skills matrix. What is a skill taxonomy? How do I have an ontology in place? How do I build the skills database? It's a very large organization spread across the globe. There could be many other challenges, right? The second thing is about technology. Many people have invested in LMS. They have hundreds of thousands of courses that are already hosted, learners registered, all of that. If they believe that it requires shifting to a system that allows this to happen because their current LMS does not have features that support this kind of a functionality or set of features, that is also a big barrier. But the most important one, in my opinion, is sometimes, many times, leaders think, I don't know where to start, or I don't think this is possible. So while every single one of these obstacles or barriers are valid, it is important to understand that every one of them is addressable. But the most important one to get started with is the mindset shift, that you must take the decision to make this change. And that actually is the hardest part. But once you make that shift in the mindset, the rest can be built. So let's take the first step in learning what is the blueprint of the strategy and how you can put that into place. The strategy has 4 interconnected pillars: the taxonomy, that is building the skills matrix, which is not just a list of skills, but skills organized systematically, linked with the roles, associated with the courses that help build those skills, and a lot of other rich metadata. And let me tell you, AI does a remarkable amount of heavy lifting here. And we'll see some of that, an example of that soon. The next is the design. That is the design of learning experiences. Today, AI technology allows creating AI native experiences that allow extending the learning solutions with much richer and effective practice, coaching, and application opportunities, and not just knowledge delivery. The third part, technology, is a move away from a static LMS to something which is an AI augmented ecosystem. And that could be done not by just changing. You don't need to change your LMS, but put a layer of AI augmented technology on top, and most importantly, build a robust data pipeline, because increasingly the world is data driven. So must be our operations in L&D. And it is data that's going to help us accomplish the development of a skills intelligence engine. This also ensures that we become ready for measurement. Once we have a lot of data coming in, it is easy to replace the vanity matrix that we were discussing earlier with matrix that actually matter. Okay, there would be matrix that indicate change in behavior, change in actual performance, time to proficiency, and correlation with business KPIs. So with that, I'd like to show you what it looks like in practice. So what does that solution look like? And I'm going to walk you through the architecture first, and then give you an idea using some screenshots of a project that we have actually implemented for one of our customers. The solution comprises 4 key components. The first one, the very foundation, is the skill matrix and database that we talked about. The second part is conducting a workforce skills assessment. One would be the baseline one, and then of course these needs to continue on an ongoing basis. So this is an assessment that tells you where our team members currently stand, what their existing competencies are, where are the skill gaps, what future skills do they need, and then that helps set the mandate for the learning design or the learning needs. The third is the personalized skills development method or the system. Now, given that each individual may be struggling with different types of skill gaps, it is very important that the system is tailored, it is personalized. Every individual has a unique learning journey or a plan that they see, so that they remain engaged. They really know why they are undertaking a certain program or an intervention and what they will achieve with that. And it's not one size fits all. Okay, you are in the organization, you need to go through these 10 courses before you can, get started. It's not like that. And finally, the most important part, data analytics and reporting. As they say, data is the new gold. It is not only required to power other components, which is skills matrix and other things, but actually understand, operate, monitor, report, all of that. And that also helps the L&D departments to speak the language of the board, that is getting aligned with the business operations and the strategy. So first we'll look at how it is all connected, right? So when you're building the skills matrix, we need to get the list of skills. That is skills associated with the roles. And that could be extracted from the job description that your HR portal may have, or anywhere else that you would have documented. The other source of information could be from functional experts and other leaders. Industry data, which is also available, can also be leveraged. Further, we would like to leverage existing courses for helping build these skills, and those could be analyzed to determine and map what kind of skills they support and capabilities they support in terms of development. The industry data can also be useful in identifying the emerging skills. that our workforce will need in the future or in the very near future, and the capabilities they need to build. The second part is, once we know what skills are needed today and in the future, the next step is to assess the capabilities of the workforce at this time. The assessments can be done or undertaken to build the profile of the current skills and capabilities of the workforce members. Skill gaps for each role and each member of the workforce can be determined. And this sets the foundation to begin the next step, which is get them started with the intervention, which is getting a personalized plan to meet the requirements, to fill the skill gaps, and achieve the desired level of competence. And this is the component that actually works in integration with your LMS and LXP in case that is not possible to be accomplished by its current capabilities. The LMS may not currently do it, but a layer of technology that we can build will help you accomplish this. It also gives a separate identity to each program, each role, or whatever. So there could be many ways in which this layer could be designed and integrated in the solution. Finally, the skills intelligence dashboard is the nervous system. The data pipeline, in my opinion, I would refer to that as a nervous system for the ecosystem. It collects and feeds the data that is required to run various functionalities and bring this entire system to life. This is not just the data collected from the LMS or LXP traditionally in terms of the learning activity, that is the number of hours, number of courses completed, what are the assessment scores. Of course, we'll use this data as well, but it goes beyond that into indicators of engagement with the courses, with the modules within. How effective are these courses appearing to be by capturing data of what happens after the course delivery? When we offer practice opportunities to the learners, when their managers observe if there is any change in their behavior over time after these interventions. So all that information can be enabled to be captured and used to provide or drive the personalization of the interventions. And ultimately, when that happens, it becomes easy to report changes in performance and correlate them with the business KPIs. Let me be clear. There's never been a better time to make this shift. What we once felt was out of reach is today very much possible thanks to what AI helps us achieve. It is accelerating and enabling our ability to make this shift happen at scale. So I encourage everyone to think seriously about making this shift if you are already not in the mindset to do so. Now, before we jump into the preview of the solution, here is a comparison of the shift in the matrix. Some examples of that. Okay. Instead of looking at the course completion, we're saying, okay, how fast are we helping our team members achieve mastery? Or how fast are we or quickly we are filling the gaps and helping somebody to reach the desired level of competence. We also focus on quality, not just tracking assessment scores, but verified output by capturing feedback that we can receive from managers or actual performance on the field. Looking at density, for instance, now looking at, okay, how many skills did a person need in a particular role? How many of them are at the level that are expected and critical for business impact, and where there are gaps? And in terms of strategy, whatever the goals are, we can work backwards and say, this is something that is hampering business, and the opportunity loss of not being able to achieve that is so much. And therefore, this investment in skill building is valid. And you can actually build that proposal based on this such that the board understands and is ready to invest in making this shift. So let's look at the preview of the solution. So what you're going to see is a mock-up because we cannot show the actual client information here. And what I want to begin with is the first step where we just spoke about how to build the skills matrix. And I had also mentioned how AI technology actually helps significantly in speeding up. Earlier, I'd heard some organizations having taken up this activity and they took up to 6 months to really put something together. Believe me, for a very large organization, we could make it possible in about 4 to 6 weeks. So that's the amount of efficiency that can come in accomplishing this. So I'm going to play this video that'll show you a part of the process where the course is imported into the system. The content of the course is analyzed to determine what kind of skills does that course support in building, and how that extracted data could be validated by human in the loop before it can be finalized and put into the skills matrix. So let's look at that. So using this interface, a package for the course is picked up. It identifies the size and other parameters from the IMS manifest or any other source of information. It starts scanning the files and extracting information from the slides, the audio, the media assets, the attached resources in terms of the PDF documents that may be made available through the course. And all of this information, I'm going to skip through the video a bit, is structured into JSON files, which I think are better for utilizing with the AI technology. The extracted content is then normalized and cleaned up, okay, in a manner that can be processed through the skill engine that would be developed. All the data is put into vectors, and a similarity with a standard database is maintained, because when it extracts, the same skill may be worded differently, the context may be different, a lot of these other challenges are there. So that is taken care of. And based on that, recommended skills with a confidence percentage is saying, okay, the system thinks with 76% confidence, for example, that this skill, regulatory compliance, is supported by this course, and so on, right? And then it can be manually edited by the subject matter experts before it gets finalized. And now, once you do this for all the courses, you have an idea of what skills that the organization needs are already being supported by the courses and to what level. And if the skills needed are of a higher level, what is required to be done? You will know about those gaps. You will know about new and emerging skills for which no courses exist, and so on. So this is actually a game changer step, that gets or lays the foundation of this entire solution. I'll just skip through. Next is this component where we also transform. There is a possibility, or what we can do is, imagine we have uploaded a SCORM package that was originally just configured to report progress, score, or the course completion only. But we could actually transform that in an automated fashion to report far more things that are indicators of engagement, or where learners may be struggling, components of the or parts of the course that learners may be skipping, if allowed, of course, and so on, which indicate that, okay, they did not enjoy that part of content. So it actually collects a lot of rich data that can eventually be used by L&D in making improvements in the programs. So with that, we move to the next part, which is looking at the data-driven dashboards that drive this entire experience. And I think we've seen how the courses get delivered, what kind of interventions can be there, but this is exactly how the whole system works. And this gives you, the dashboards are a good way to look at what is the skills intelligence system and what information does it provide to each stakeholder, and how valuable is it for them. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is actually again launch a poll to know what do you think about the importance of all of these the data-driven dashboard reports, and what do you think is the most important? So let me bring that up. So here you go. So according to you, which is most relevant to you according to your understanding today? I guess, yeah. So there are 4 options, but these are corresponding with each stakeholder that is important. Okay, I'll wait for a few more seconds before I end the poll. Okay, so let's look at the results. So as you can see, all of them are important, and it's hard to tell which one is more important than the other. And we're going to dive into each one of those. Okay, but to start with, I think we are all learner-centric. If the learners are successful in accomplishing and building the skills and capabilities that they need, then that helps us meet the ultimate goal of this entire initiative. So we'll start with the individual learner dashboards. Okay. So what would be the learners interested in? They would like to know, okay, what skills do I really have based on my current role? What skills do I need to build to be successful in this role or excel in this role? And then once they know that, how can I build those, right? So the dashboards actually give them a reason, a strong reason to understand why they need to invest their time and effort in learning and acquiring new skills, right? Here's a view that actually lists the skills and the levels that they should be at and classifies them into two types. That is the skills where they are at target or often they may exceed that as well, or skills that are below target and need their attention. Okay. So this is what brings their focus. And once that focus is there, we offer them personalized recommendations for skill building for those gaps. So for instance, there are 3 courses. Some of them can be online. Some interventions could be in-person classroom or instructor-led or whatever. So this plan would be a comprehensive plan that would recommend, okay, this is all that you need to go through. And considering the time that the goal that they would set, it could also give them a plan saying, okay, how soon do you want to bridge this gap? And so if they say, I want to take 4 months, it would adjust and build a plan for just 4 months. Okay, if it's possible. And if it's too aggressive, the system can actually let them know also. And so here is where they get personalized recommendations for skill building. Next is, it's not just about the organization. It is also, we have to be mindful of the learner's aspirations in career growth. And many would think, okay, I need to transition into a bigger role, or I need to make a shift into a completely different role. And how do my current skills help me move to that new role? Okay, what skills do I need to build to be able to seek that shift in the role in the organization? So if the learner is allowed to put in and make selections, they can find out, okay, I have a highest overlap of skills with this role. And if I can build this additional skills, I can actually make this transition within a short period of time. Of course, provided there is an opportunity within the organization for that. So this is another thing. And imagine, we work a lot to invest in making courses interactive, building rich media to engage the learners. But believe me, this would be one of the strongest drivers of intrinsic motivation, saying, is this aligned with my performance in the current organization, I can excel, or I can grow in my role, or I can actually grow in my career over the long time by acquiring the skills. That could be a big driver, trust me. Next is the manager dashboard. So now a manager wants to know that if he or she has made a plan and committed to certain business metrics or achievements, what skills are required to succeed? How should the team be equipped with capabilities that are needed? And so they get to know, okay, my team has certain number of members. How well are they equipped in terms of the skills and capabilities needed? Where are the gaps? And once the learning activity and the related data is collected, it can tell them information about, okay, in the last quarter, so many skill gaps have been filled. Okay, it could be reported by the learners, it could be reported by the role within that team, and they could also look at the pace of development and encourage learners or the team as required to invest more time and be able to get there in time to meet the business objectives. The progress can be viewed by role or even by the region, because regional requirements may be different. And there could be certain priority skills. I was interacting with an organization, and they just got started with building the skills matrix, and their database had close to about 2,500 skills listed. Now imagine if I were to list all of them here, it would be like drowning in the sea. So what are the top priorities in terms of skills? Which skills are influencing achievement of the learning objective or the business objectives that need to be prioritized? And you can look at, okay, how many of my team members possess that skill, or is there a gap? And I would put that on a priority. I would work. In that case, if I were to give this information to the functional leads, they would want to work with the L&D team to say, okay, what can we do together about this? And that's becoming a partner with the functional departments or the organization, and not be an order taker, right? That's what many L&D leaders want to become. So you can review the list of the priority skills and gaps and take action based on that. The other things that the manager can do is also look at, okay, looks like a good number of people, because they are motivated now based on what information and support they are getting, the opportunity to bridge those gaps. Some of them may still need additional support. They may need coaching. They may need some other interventions. So those get highlighted in the dashboard because they are falling behind. Their pace or the velocity is not as good. And some actually may be struggling very badly. And they could also get highlighted. And it could be for something that could be completely unknown to the system. So it doesn't mean that it's really bad, but it highlights and allows the manager to take up a conversation, dig deeper, and find out how the team can be made successful as a whole and very effective. So if an organization, for example, is looking at launching a major initiative, and for that, a specific set of skills or knowledge are required to be accomplished, then it is important that that gap is bridged or that target is achieved in a reasonable amount of time. And the learning velocity and the related matrix, when seen, actually give them an idea, are they prepared to align with the business strategy, the launch of a particular new product, for example, or a new release or anything else? Is the team prepared to support that? Or this could be used in many other ways. So prediction of by when the skill need or the skill gap can be closed successfully. Next is, what can L&D managers see and benefit from? At a highest level, they would look at the growth that they have enabled by role or by region. They could also analyze how their course designs are effective. And this could be, instead of looking at just the assessment scores, it could be from the changes that I just talked about earlier, that they could record data in terms of observed changes in behavior from their managers or actual performance, like somebody being able to close certain deals or sign, the sales targets exceeded and so on and so forth, or falling short, and try to extract information to summarize and report how effective the course is. So there is a correlation, okay, and that could be done. And so with that, they could determine, okay, it looks like these courses or this entire program is effective, but the others doesn't appear to be that effective, and we need to relook at that. Next is skills development gaps. What is the coverage of skills that is supported? What courses need upgrade, and so on, as we just spoke about. The course engagement, where the learners may be dropping off, what kind of changes are needed, and so on. So we're coming pretty close to the time that we had set. So I want to leave time for some question and answers. So I'll go through the next 3-4 slides much more quickly, which is the executive management dashboard. So now they're able to see role-wise what is the existing competency level, what kind of change and improvement is happening over time. They can, based on what top capabilities and skills they would have identified, again, they're able to see where the competency is. Are they ready to succeed in the market? And region-wise also, there could be a view where they can see that what are the skill gaps and have regional teams take action accordingly. So these are some examples. And this is an example of how certain business KPIs can be correlated. For example, the system can collect information like what is the change in the customer support requests. So the first one, for example, 18% reduction in comparison with the previous quarter, let's say. So which means something is working better. The performance of the people has improved, or any change in the compliance non-compliance rather incidents, if they have reduced, then it also affects, or it also an indicator that the program is successful. And so these are the kind of KPIs that you can correlate the data with and report, and therefore making the management understand that yes, their investment is actually paying off. So AI can be used in a lot of these stages, and therefore I refer to this being the right time to take advantage and making the shift. We also spoke briefly about, or I referred to briefly about the AI native learning experiences that can be added to extend what learning can achieve today. And so this is also what I've talked about in the ebook. You may want to look at that. And finally, we all know this is a big shift, but how do you get started? And given that this cannot be achieved in a single leap, what I have proposed is think about one North Star, meaning a small function or a set of skills and capabilities. Do the diagnosis, get the buy-in from your stakeholders, build the system around that, and then do a pilot. This can be done in as low as 90 days. Of course, there are many factors here and the actual time. But yes, the reason I say this is I want you to understand that yes, it is possible in a very short period of time that you run a pilot. And once there is a successful pilot, you will have gained experience on how to scale it and replicate it for other needs or across the organization. You will have also gained the sponsor's confidence that yes, this can be accomplished, and get your proposals approved towards that. So I would highly recommend, do a pilot quickly and discover that yes, indeed, this can be done. Read the guide. You will be able to easily find the link to downloading this ebook on our website. And of course, if you need any help, Upside Learning offers comprehensive services on helping organizations design, build, implement, and provide ongoing support for the skills intelligence engine. So with that, I'd like to get into the question and answers and encourage all of you to put questions in the chat that I can see and I will be able to respond. Okay, so one of the questions that I can see is, okay, just a second. So how do we get leadership buy-in when they've never funded anything like this before? So I had mentioned just now that the proposal is quite unlike what L&D teams make usually about programs and say, okay, this program is 30 hours of learning, and this is what it would typically cost, and budget for that, and so on. But here, one must lead the conversation with a business problem at the center, not the L&D solution. So if we know what the problem is there in terms of the gaps in skills and capabilities, and what is the cost of leaving it unaddressed, if you can get that information and then build a proposal around that, then it justifies the investment. We could help you think through some of these examples or whatever, so if you have any specific requirements, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to make suggestions on how that can be done. Another question that I can see is, it's coming from somebody who's in a medium-sized organization. Says, we are a medium-sized organization. Is this only viable for large enterprises? Well, actually, this is needed by any organization, irrespective of the size. And practically speaking, implementing this in very large organizations can be pretty time-consuming and challenging as well. And in fact, easier comparatively for medium-sized organizations. And so I would encourage that don't be limited by thinking, okay, it's for somebody else, not for me, or not for us. But if you're focused on becoming a partner, supporting your organization, be ready for the future and prepare a workforce and get that competitive advantage, then I would encourage that anybody, and this is in fact easier for medium-sized organizations. But of course, large organizations definitely need this. No matter how difficult it is, they need to make this shift. Okay. Another question is, how do we build the skills taxonomy from scratch? We don't have one, and it sounds like a very complex thing. Well, yes, there is no straightforward model that one can follow and very quickly get it done. It requires collaboration between stakeholders, establishing a taxonomy that everybody agrees upon, and a systematic plan to build it. But like I said, if it's complex, doesn't mean we can't do it. But given this, you could seek help, support. If internal expertise is not there, that is also possible. And there are a lot of references available online as well that can help you and your team build the capability yourself to be able to undertake such a requirement and then take the drive forward. So, this is very much possible. Okay. Okay, the last question I guess that we can take is, we have an LMS. Do you think it could be, any LMS could be enhanced with such a skills intelligence layer? Well, today in the data-driven world, most LMSs do have an API that allows us to integrate with them and make all of this possible. And therefore, I'm confident that many of you will have an LMS that will allow that. But if not, there are options available and you could migrate to those. But I think that will be for a very small percentage. Almost any good LMS, if you're already having, will allow for APIs or will have APIs which will allow integration and therefore allow you to actually build this without having to change it or without having to invest in many other products that I've seen on the market that wherein you may have to pay by the number of workforce or team members that you have and so on. But this could be actually accomplished with some one-time investment. Okay, so with that, I know we have run over our time slightly, and I'd like to thank each one of you for taking your time out and attending this webinar. I'd love to get feedback on what you think about the content. I would also love to know what other areas of the ebook that you would like me to expand on in the follow-up sessions that I plan to conduct on this subject. I'd also be happy to support as best as possible and answer any queries with respect to any of these areas that we discussed today or that you find in the ebook. So feel free to reach out. I would love to interact with you and keep the conversation ongoing. We'd like to make sure that we are able to support you in being successful in making this shift and helping all our learners succeed in their careers and also our organizations succeed in achieving their business objectives. Thank you so much.